Before we get started, right, there are some points that we can make note of. The first thing being that the visualizations that we are going to talk about are not technically complex in that they're fairly easy to create, but the focus is more on how do we tell a good story through the data, okay? And this will happen only when we think outside of the regular bar chart or the line chart that we usually create, okay? So we'll just make a note of these 3 points. I will go into the topic now. Okay, so this is what the topic is about, okay? So revisiting historic visualizations. Now, one thing to understand here is that, so today we will talk about this part one, stopping an epidemic, okay? And anything that we talk about, any visualization that we talk about within this topic, what we need to understand is that these visualizations were created sometime like 150 or 200 years ago, when there was no such aid of data visualization. So they did not have a computer, they did not have Tableau, MS Excel or anything like that. But still, these visualizations are considered some of the greatest visualizations of all time, particularly because of the revolutionary impact that they had during those times. Okay, so for today's topic, this is what we will cover. So this was the situation basically. It was London, the city of London, the year 1854. So the entire city was going through a cholera pandemic, which was part of the worldwide cholera pandemic, which went on until I think 1860 or something like that. Okay. Now I thought of talking about this because this is sort of relevant to us in the current context as well. And the thing was that nobody knew the cause. See, now we know that cholera is a waterborne disease. It spreads through contaminated water and everything. But at that time in 1854, nobody knew that. Okay. And more than that, the germ theory of disease did not exist. So by germ theory, what we mean is that, so nowadays we know for a fact that disease is caused by virus or bacteria or any sort of a germ, right? But this theory did not exist at that time in 1854. But what instead people thought was that they had something called as a miasma theory, which said the disease is spreading through some bad air, bad atmosphere or bad air. So that was what people had in mind. But there was one person who created one data visualization which disproved all that conventional superstitious beliefs and firmly established this germ theory. Okay, so that's what I mentioned here. The outbreak was controlled because of a data visualization. Now this is actually true, guys. Okay, I'm not kidding here. Really, there was one data visualization which stopped that cholera outbreak in the city of London in 1854. Okay, so I'll tell you what was done. So there was this person, Dr. John Snow. Okay, and he basically formed a hypothesis. All right. So if you remember, a couple of months back, I in one of the KKS sessions, I was talking about an insurance case where I said I had applied a hypothesis, right? So typically, how do we apply a hypothesis is that we if you remember, I also showed you a picture of a man firing a rifle, and I said that the target will be the data and the bullet will be the hypothesis that we apply on the data, right? So he followed a similar approach where he said, I'm not going to believe in any superstitious thing. So I'm not going to believe in the miasma theory. But this person is an educated person. He's a doctor, and he knows that any disease can be caused by only some external agent or a vector. Okay, and one of those vectors could possibly be water, or the disease could possibly be spread by water contamination. So that was the hypothesis that he had. Okay, so what he did was he collected data house by house. So each house he went and he collected the number of people who have died due to the cholera disease, and also he collected the location of all the pumps in the city of London. Okay, and then he identified certain patterns from this data and he took some action. Okay, now let's see what actually happened. So the data usually, there are two parts to this data actually. So one is what we call as the house data, and the other is the pumps data. I have written a brief piece of code in Python to take these two data sets, sort of clean them up a little bit and combine them so that it will be ready for our visualization. Okay, this is a very simple Python code, but this part of the code that we are about to see will be what you will be using in case you work on Python extensively. So, it contains all the basics like reading in data from an Excel file, creating some columns, combining the data, exporting the data to a CSV file, and so on. Okay. So I'll just go through the code quickly. So first step is, if you remember, some few sessions back, we had one more Python code where we did some parallel processing. So there also we had this first step of importing some libraries. Okay. So similarly, for Python, for data analytics, we use this library called pandas. So first step that we are doing here is importing this pandas library. So select the line, press F9. I will just run this line. I have imported the library now, and I will first read in the raw data sets. So first I will be reading the data house location data, and for doing this I'm using this function pd.read_excel. Okay, and always remember, when you're reading in a file in Python, this is a syntax that you will be using. You will say R, and after that you will give a quotation mark, and within which you will specify the directory of the file. So I'm just specifying d:/percept analytics/. So that is the directory of the file. And finally, here I have the file name housedetails.xlsx. Okay. So if you're reading in an Excel file, you will be using this function read_excel. If you're reading in a CSV file, you will be using a function read_CSV. But this syntax within the parenthesis, that stays the same. So first I will read in the data_houses. You can see that it has 250 rows and 3 columns. And then I will read in the pumps data. So same function, I will just change the file name. So once I run the line here, you can see the output here. So I have read in this line, read in this file, pump locations.xlsx. Now this is what the data looks like. Okay. So this is basically so each row of the data, so the 0th row, first row, second row, each row corresponds to a particular house. And we have the latitude, the longitude, and the number of people who have died in that house due to the cholera. This is one data. The other data that we have is this pumps data, which is basically nothing but the latitude and the longitude location of each pump in that area. Pump is basically that water pump. Okay, because again, coming back to that hypothesis, our hypothesis is that the cholera disease could be spread via water. So we are just trying to get the location of the pumps, overlay it on top of the house locations, and see, or rather try to confirm our hypothesis whether water is the reason for the spread of the disease. Okay, so on the one hand we have the house data, on the other hand we have the pump location data. Okay, now to create the visualization in Tableau, we would need to combine both these data. Basically we need to put them together like one on top of the other. Okay, now Python allows you to do that only when you satisfy two criteria. One is that the number of columns should be equal, and also the column headers should be the same if you have to stack data sets one on top of the other. Okay, if you have worked with R, you will be familiar with a function called rbind. Okay, so that rbind basically stacks one data set on top of the other. In Python also we have a similar feature, but the condition is that the number of columns and the column headers should be the same. Now if you see here, this house data has this number of deaths column, or the count column, but the pumps data does not have this column basically. Okay, so the next step what we will do is we will just add a dummy column for the count in the pumps data. So I will just say, so this is basically the syntax to create a new column. I am just initializing this new column called as count in the second data set, that is the data_pumps. So I will say data set name, within brackets I'm giving the column name, and I'm initializing that column to the value of 0. Okay, so now if you see here, so now we have created this new column and we have just given the value of 0. Okay, and just for a visual perspective, right, we would since we are combining both the data sets and we are overlaying them on one on top of the other, we would like to distinguish the houses and the pumps. Okay, because when we are putting them on a map, we need to distinguish them based on the symbol. Okay, so I'm creating one more column, which is a Boolean column. I'm saying the name of the column, I'm just giving it as pump. Okay, so the value of this column pump in the houses data will be false, because it's a house, right? It's not a pump. So we will just specify same syntax, data set name within brackets column name. I will initialize it to false. Okay, and similarly for the pumps data, we know that each row of their data corresponds to the location of a particular pump, and so I will just give a true. So now if you see the two data sets, on the one hand we have the houses data set like this, and on the other hand we have a pumps data set like this. You can see that our two criteria to combine the data sets have been satisfied. So we have 4 columns in each data set. That is the first criteria. Second criteria is that the column headers are also the same: latitude, longitude, count, and the Boolean column for the pump. So here houses data, this will be false. In the pumps data, this will be true. Also in the pumps data, this is sort of a dummy column, so we are just giving it as 0. Okay. Now oftentimes when we create a visualization in Tableau, we need to do some kind of a basic data manipulation like this, and these will be the features which you will be most commonly using: reading in that Excel file, seeing what columns are there, creating some dummy columns, and then combining the data sets like that. And this step, the line number 26, is where we're actually stacking the two data sets one on top of the other. Okay, so I'm creating a new data set with the name data_stacked. I'm saying that is equal to pd.concat. So pd stands for this pandas library. So from this pandas library, we are using this function, concat function, which will concatenate these two data sets, basically stack these two data sets. So I'll just run this line. So you see here, data houses has 250 rows. This data pumps has 8 rows. When we combine them one on top of the other, this has 250 plus 8, 258 rows and 4 columns. Okay, and then this combined data set or the stacked data set, we are just exporting it as a CSV file. So for that we use this function to_CSV. So data_stack dot to_CSV, and this syntax is basically the same whatever we used to read in that Excel file. That is the same syntax we use for exporting it as well. So we say R, within single quotes we specify the directory of the file that we are writing to. So and we're saying data from python.csv, and at the end, if you notice, I have one more parameter that says index is equal to false. So this index is equal to false is nothing but I'm issuing an instruction to Python saying omit the row index. So if you see here, for this data_stacked, we have this first column called as index, right? So if you don't specify this index is equal to false, this column will come as an extra column. Basically, we don't need it right now. This index column, we don't need it because we know for a fact that each row corresponds to a particular house or a pump. And anyway, we are not going to use it here. So I will just say index is equal to false. And once I write this, it will be exported as a CSV file. Okay, so now we have we had two pieces of data. We had done some cleaning and we have combined them, and we have exported that single combined data frame as a CSV file. Any questions here until now? Any questions on any of this syntax or functions that we have used?
All good from my side, sorry.
Okay, so now if you see here, this data from Python, you can see that the time 9:34. So this is what we have just exported, and this is the file that we will be using to create the visualization in Tableau. So how we will do that is, so this is a pretty straightforward visualization. Say connect to data, I will specify the file that we have just created, this data from Python. Okay. So now we can see that these 4 columns that we had, latitude, longitude, the number of the deaths in that house, and this Boolean column. So by default, this has also been read in as a Boolean column as well, true or false. I can see that here. And what we are going to do is basically we are going to map or locate each house and each pump on a map which shows the city of London. Okay, that's what we are going to do. So latitude, I will drop it onto the rows, and longitude I will drop it onto columns. Okay, now by default you see, it is aggregating, saying it is an average. Okay, but average latitude, average longitude does not make sense. So what we will do is you just click on this analysis. Whenever whenever you're using Tableau, you just remember, if you want to show a scatter plot or a distribution of points in a space, you uncheck this aggregate measures. Okay, this aggregate measures is what creates this average or sum or anything by any min or max. By default, it aggregates the measure. But here, since we need to show each and every point on the map, we will just say go to analysis and uncheck this aggregate measures. Now, if you see, each point here corresponds to a particular house or a particular pump. Okay, but still this is not very clear. If you want, you can just focus, you can just click on this icon, you can just focus that particular area of interest which we are looking at. So I just drag this mouse over here, it sort of zooms in a little bit. No, but still this is not clear, because we know for a fact that we are dealing with house level data. Okay, so house level data, if I want to see it clearly, then I need to know which house which street the house is on, or which area that house is located in, right? But that is not showing here by default. So what we do is we click on this map option over here, and you click on map layers. Okay, and under the style you have something called as streets. Okay, so you click on streets. Now your map has been transformed to a street level map. So by default it takes a country level or a city level map, but we have obtained this view at a street level by going to this map and map layers. Okay, now this looks a bit clearer. So in each street, each spot here is either a house or a pump. Okay, but we have the view at least finally. Okay, now the next step is to distinguish the houses from the pumps. Okay, so what we will do now is we will just click on this drop down, we will change this to a shape. Alright, now we have this boolean field for the pump, whether or not the particular location is a house or a pump. So we'll just drag this column and we will drop it onto this shape box over here, and we have a legend here which is basically that false or true, and we'll just do a bit of a cosmetic change over here. For false, I will give a filled circle like this. And again, a few sessions back, if you remember, I talked about how to give a custom shape in Tableau, right? So what we do is we go to this. You go to my documents here. You will have a folder that says Tableau, my Tableau repository. You open this, and there will be a folder called as shapes. This will be a default folder that you will get with your Tableau installation. So in that, we can create a new folder, and we can just give a custom shapes over there. So there, if you see, I've given this new picture file called as pump. Okay, so it takes only PNG files, you can remember that. So this is also a PNG file that we have here, and what we will do now is just go here, and if you see here, I have created this pump PNG picture inside this folder called as maintenance, right? And this maintenance folder will show up here in this drop down. Okay, so we'll just click on maintenance. You'll be able to see that pump icon over here. So you click here, and then you click OK. Right now, you see here, no, it's not very visible. It's a bit small in size. The pump, basically the symbol of the pump and the blue circles that we have are of the same size. Now, what we need to do is we need to make this pump symbol stand out a bit from the other house location that we have. Okay, so for that, what I will do is I will create a simple calculated field. Okay, so I will create calculated field, and I will just say pump size. Okay, I will give a simple if condition. So if the column, or if the value under the column pump is true, so I will just say if pump. Okay, that in itself is a boolean condition. So if pump, then I'll just give some value, let's say 1000. Otherwise, if it is house, then I will say give the value 100. I will end this if condition. Okay, now if the value under the column pump is true, then it will this size column will take a value of 1000, otherwise it will take a value of 100. Okay, and then I will just drag this pump size that we have created and drop it onto size. Now you can see that this pump is standing out a bit. I'll just make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, and so now you can see that the house locations come first, and it looks like the pump is buried under the houses, right? But that's not what we want to do. If we are to go back to our hypothesis, what we are trying to do is we are trying to overlay the pump locations on top of the house locations. Okay, so I will just switch these legends over here. I will just drag this false and put it at the bottom. Okay, now if you see this, the pump locations have come out on top of the house locations. Got it? So so now we have the locations of the houses and the locations of the pumps. All right, and we can just add one more additional level of detail here, because we also have the number of deaths that have been recorded in each house, right? If we are to really measure the intensity of the disease by location, we can sort of drag this number of deaths and we can just drop it onto color. Now if you see, by default the number of deaths, the value under the number of deaths column in the for the pumps is basically 0, right? So this has basically made the pump's location invisible, right? So for that we need to do one more little hack. Okay, so what we do is if you see the maximum value for the counter, just drop this onto text. I'll give a maximum. Okay, so 15 is the maximum value, which is to say that the maximum number of deaths recorded by any house in that location is in that city is 15. All right. Now what we'll do is we will create a calculated field which will take a value greater than 15 if the location is the pump. Okay, so I'll just click here, create new calculated field. I will say for color. This is not to measure the deaths or anything. This is just to make that color stand out a little bit. All right. So it's similar to the original calculated field that we created. If the location is a pump, then I will say take a value of 20. Okay, because that value should be greater than 15. Only then the pump location will be dark enough and it will stand out. Okay, so I'll just give 20. Else you take the same value of count and then end this if condition over here. Click OK. Now I'll just go back to the original sheet. I will so this for color is what we just now created. I will drag this and drop it onto color. Okay, now if you see, we have the pumps location on one hand, which we have overlaid on top of the houses location, and then in each house the intensity of the color shows the number of deaths basically. So right very, very, very close to this pump you have this house over here. This minus 0.13 longitude and 51.51 latitude. So this house, if you see, that number of deaths is the highest, right? So this is the darkest shade of blue that we have over here. And on top of that, we have some other houses which have recorded a fairly higher number of deaths. You have one over here, you have one over here, you have one over here, but nothing is as high as this one. Okay. And one more interesting thing that you can possibly observe is, see, we have pumps located all over the place, right? You have here, but nearby all of these other pumps, there are not so many deaths. Okay, maybe here you have a few close by to this pump. Okay, here. So maybe one possible reason for this could be that this has been responsible for some of the water contamination. Okay. Similarly here as well, you have some deaths close by over here, but these two pumps seem untouched as of now, at least. Okay, or to be more precise, as of the time the data was collected, these two pumps seem to be untouched. All right, and similarly, if you see this pump over here, some of the deaths have occurred close to this pump as well, to this area, right? But this central pump that we have, right? So this is basically located at a street called Broad Street. So the street name right now has been changed to Broadstone Street. In those years it was called Broad Street. But this Broad Street pump, if you see, is close to so many deaths over here, and that particular house which has recorded the highest number of deaths is also close to this pump. Okay, so Dr. John Snow actually made this kind of a visualization. The actual viz that he made was a little bit different. I will show you that in a moment. But what he did was he did this. Okay, so he had the location wise or the house wise deaths data, and he on top of that he overlaid this pump's location data, and what he concluded was that this particular pump over here is serving as the hotspot for the spread of cholera. So it started over here, and at the time this data was collected, we can say that it has possibly spread to this location or to these two locations possibly. Okay, but it has not spread to these locations over here. But it clearly shows that cholera is spread through the water contamination, and the water supply in the city has been responsible for spreading this disease, and that particular contamination has originated at this point. Okay, so this was what he concluded. Before I move to the next part, any questions here until now? Yeah. All right. Let me just. Okay, so after doing this data analysis, the action that they took was they clearly identified it based on the patterns. They identified that Broad Street pump was responsible for the spread of the virus, and what they did was they just removed the handle from that pump. So you see the photograph on the right. This is the photograph of that pump. Very recent photograph. They have still kept that pump as a memorial sort of thing over there, and they removed the handle from this pump. Usually the handle will be over here. They removed it so that people will no longer be able to take water from it. Okay, and once they did that, they were actually able to stop the spread of the disease. Okay, so yeah, so results was that primarily the outbreak of the cholera was controlled and dispelled the conventional thinking. So basically, they had this miasma theory, right? They thought that the disease was spreading via air, but this visualization that Dr. John Snow created showed irrefutable evidence of the germ theory of disease. So basically, we had one particular point from where the disease has originated, and we know that it has spread primarily through the water as a mode of contamination. So this gave evidence to that germ theory of disease. And most importantly, in today's context, we always talk about this hotspot and everything, right? And this hotspot concept, for the first time, it was introduced only in this situation, actually. So this was the first time that this word came up, so this hotspot concept came up, because they were able to identify that one single pump as the hotspot of that disease. Okay, and just to make a comparison, the picture that you see on the left is what Dr. John Snow actually created. Like I said, this was created in an era without computers. So this was basically created on pen and paper. You can see that he has meticulously drawn the map with all the streets and everything. And the way he has done the visualization is, so right here on the right, if you see, this is a visualization that we created, okay? And to show the intensity of the deaths, we have used a color scale, right? But what he has done is, since recreating this color scale will be difficult on paper, he has done a linear scale for this. So this house that we saw, right, the one with the highest number of deaths, which you see over here, you can see that he has done it like a bar sort of thing. So the higher the number of deaths in that house, the longer will be the bar that represents the house. So for each house, he has plotted the number of deaths used in the form of a bar. And you can just compare the locations. So you have this Soho Square. So it is the same map, same data. We have the pump locations here as well, which we are showing in the form of symbols. And house locations here have been shown with black squares. And the deaths intensity has been shown as the length of that bar, which here we have shown using circles and colors. So that is what I had for today.